Welcome back to the poker vlog. This is episode number 228. For this one, I make my first trip to Australia and I play my first ever high roller event. So I've been looking forward to putting out this one for a long time. It's a very special and unique episode. You guys are gonna love it. But before we get started, a few announcements to make. The first one is that Andrew and I are going out to the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida for a meetup game. That'll be November 17th. If you're in the Florida area, please come out, hang out with Andrew and me, and we'll play some poker. But I'll have more information in the description box below. The second announcement is that the World Championship is coming up for WPT. That'll be at the Wynn Las Vegas in December. It's a $15 million guarantee, the largest live guarantee of all time. So if you're able to play that, come on out, and even if you just want to hang out with Andrew and me, we're going to be at the Wynn pretty much all of December, and we're hosting a meetup game with some very, very special guests. It'll be probably the coolest meetup game that we've ever done. So I have more information in the description box. That event is going to kick off the entire World Championship, and it's going to be a blast. So hope to see you at either Florida or in Las Vegas at the Wynn, or maybe at both places. All right, let's go ahead and get started.
The program you're about to watch is a documentary about the North American poker vlogger. First off, they're no longer rare, and have actually multiplied at a somewhat alarming rate over the last few years. This one here is an exceptionally curious fellow, which probably leads to his light, and often incorrect, river calls. Now that he's arguably a grown-up, he makes his first migration to the land down under. It's a long trip, but the North American poker vlogger travels in pairs to avoid getting bored out of his gourd. After over 24 hours of travel, this creature finally makes it to his destination, the Star Gold Coast Casino. It's an absolutely gorgeous environment that perfectly simulates the natural habitat that the vlogger would have back home, and then some. What's special about this particular vlogger is that he has long legs like a giraffe, perfect for running good when he's on land. He's not restricted to land though. He's also occasionally found cruising around the waterways of Queensland, and sometimes even flying through the sky to get unique aerial views of the new region that he's found himself in. There are two primary objectives for this little guy's trip to Australia, and then there are some ancillary ones as well. The first objective is to host a sick meetup game. This happens early on in the trip. Everything is done in reverse in Australia due to it being on the other side of the planet. So for the first time at one of these events, the drinking comes before the playing. It's always a good idea to have plenty of alcoholic beverages leading up to making decisions for potentially thousands of dollars. Unfortunately, live cash games aren't allowed to be filmed on property, whereas tournaments are. The meetup game is still a blast, and one player is even given a seat into the $5,400 WPT main event that will take place in a few days.
Day 1A or day 1B? Friday? Cool, man. Well, congratulations, and I'll be rooting you on, and I'll be following how you do.
Thank you. I'll do my best for you, Brian.
Cool.
Today is a rare day in which two vloggers win at the meetup game. This almost never happens.
Played for 6 hours, first Australian meetup game. Unfortunately, we weren't able to film the cash, but won 126 Aussie. I was stuck 500, kind of close to the beginning of it, but made it back. I'm proud of you. Andrew, how'd you do?
I did great. For once in a meetup game, I usually donate lots of gifts at these meetup games. Tonight, I got them for 1,100 Aussie dollars.
You may have noticed that I've only described one of the primary objectives so far. The other objective is to win the WPT main event and get the vlogger's name on the Mike Sexton Champions Cup that he has to see on nearly every poker trip that he makes. If he can't do that, perhaps he'll be able to win one of the side events that have various buy-in amounts, ranging from a few $100s to 5 figures for the high rollers. The vlogger has allowed us access into what he's thinking with his small and simple brain. We'll let him take it from here.
Thanks.
No problem, mate.
The first tournament I hop into is a $550 event in memory of Shane Warne, a legendary cricket baller who loved poker. $50 from each buy-in goes towards the local wildlife hospital in order to save koalas. Thanks to the help of Australia's own Lynn Gilmartin, the event raises about $30,000 between the buy-ins and donations. I run well in the tournament, There are 477 entries total. The top 60 players make the money. First place is 47,213 Aussie dollars. It's about 31,500 US. Nobody knows how to celebrate a money bubble bursting better than Aussies.
Good job. Get in there. Yeah.
After making a few pay jumps, we 3-bet rip King-Queen offsuit for 13 big blinds and get called by Ace-Queen. We're in bad shape. A rail is formed to root on me getting knocked out. The flop isn't too interesting. It comes 8-3-3 with 2 clubs. We're drawing dead to one of 3 kings. The turn is the 5 of diamonds. Our last hope is the river card, otherwise we're eliminated. The dealer puts out the 10 of clubs.
Let's go.
Nice hand. Good playing with you.
It's hard to be upset when the person who knocks you out has that big of a smile on his face. I'm happy to get on the board and pick up some Australian Bradley dollars from my first ever international tournament cash.
That's it. Ended up cashing for 1,026, a little bit more than a min cash, and just had a great time playing today. I think that I've cashed in like 5 live events in a row, which is just unbelievable for me. So yeah, just having a great time out here, and the people are really nice and friendly and stuff. Obviously, it would have been cool to run deep, but can't complain with how well I've been running, and I'm looking forward to playing the main. So that's going to be the day after tomorrow.
The day after tomorrow comes, I get a buy-in for the main event from WPT as part of my deal with them. If I cash, I only get to keep the profit and return the buy-in amount to a budget that's allotted to me for the year. If I break the tournament, the buy-in is subtracted from the budgeted amount. Having that deal definitely takes a little pressure off me so that I can play my best, but I don't get unlimited free buy-ins, and if I don't make the money, a big part of my compensation for my ambassador role becomes worthless. Everyone starts with 50,000 in chips. During the first few levels, I run the stack up to about 100,000. Then I run cold for a bit before getting involved in a big pot. With blinds at 600, 1200, we've got ace-king offsuit in middle position. The player under the gun open jams for 25,000. That's a significant amount. I re-rip it for 89,000 total to isolate the under the gun player. No one calls my jam. The under the gun player isn't confident. That's always something that's nice to hear in a big all-in situation. The opponent shows that he has ace-10 offsuit. We're in about as good a shape as possible. I don't like to get too excited until it's over though. I've been chatting quite a bit with the player on my right throughout the day. He recognizes the situation is a good one for us and tries to jinx it.
You will see.
There's no possible way that we're going to win the hand after something like that gets said. The flop comes King, Queen, Jack to give the opponent a flop straight.
Not too well timed. 10 ball? Heart?
The turn is the ace of spades, giving us top 2 pair. We've at least got some full house outs and some chop outs. But the river is the deuce of hearts, which causes us to drop down to about starting stack late in the day. Unfortunately, I'm not really able to recover. My stack gets short. Ultimately, I get it in on the turn with a flush draw versus trip 4s. A river a pair. It's not good enough though. My dreams of getting my name on the Champions Cup will have to be put on hold once again.
Busted, tough day. I think I'm alright with how I played, but yeah, unfortunately it didn't work out, particularly with that ace-king versus ace-10 hand. Everything kind of went sour from there, and busted in the last, right before the last level of the night. So, time to get some food and get some sleep.
Time is running out to win a tournament in Australia. There are very few trophies up for grabs. I hop into the $1,200 mini main event and immediately turn jacks full of aces before getting it all in on the river with ace-jack offsuit. But someone else has the same full house as me. Ordinarily we'd chop. Not the case this time, as the third player flopped queens full of jacks to send me and the other ace-jack player to the rails.
In route.
Wow.
Ice-jack versus queen. Queen-jack.
At the moment, I'm down on the trip. There are only 2 more options for tournaments that I can play, a $550 buy-in or a 10K high roller. I played 10Ks, but I've never actually played a high roller before. The difference is that a tournament like the main event that has a $10,000 buy-in will have a massive field with plenty of recreational players. A high roller will be a much smaller field, usually with the vast majority being top-level players. I've been doing well overall in tournaments this year. I mentioned earlier that I'd cashed in 5 tournaments in a row. That doesn't even count the online event that I won out of 2,154 players for a WPT World Championship package. I'm ready to test myself against Australia's best, especially after getting some bad beats out of the way. I buy in during level 5. Everyone starts with 200,000 in chips. I'm glad I get this video clip initially because the first 2 hands I'm dealt, I lose. It seems that my worst fear is materializing. Maybe I shouldn't have taken a shot in this tournament. Maybe I'm just too outmatched. My stack dips to 110,000. I decide if I'm going to go out, I'm going out in a blaze. Just 45 minutes after late registering, we've got ace-10 offsuit in the small blind. A player in middle position raises to 10,000. He's been pretty active. I feel like I've already got to push back and fight for my tournament life. I 3-bet jam for 109,000. It's about 27 big blinds. This is just a little light. You're supposed to make this jam with ace-jack offsuit while mixing in calling and 3-betting to a smaller amount with ace-10 offsuit. The player goes into the tank. I'm glad that we didn't get snap called, but I prefer a fold so that we can increase our stack without being at risk. Players at this level are tougher to push around. The opponent calls. I'm somewhat relieved to see that we're up against pocket 9s. We're only a slight underdog, but we put the opponent to a tough decision pre-flop. The dealer puts out king-queen 10 on the flop. We've got a massive lead with our pair, better straight draw, and backdoor flush draw. The middle position player is drawing dead to 2 outs. We just need a clean turn and river. The turn is the ace of diamonds, not necessary, but we'll take the 2 pair to get 1 step closer to victory. We just need to dodge one of the last 2 9s. The river is the jack of diamonds, putting us straight on board, counterfeiting our 2 pair, and forcing a chop.
Oh, are you kidding? Ridiculous.
The stack essentially stays the same. We're still in need of help, just to get back to what we started the tournament with. The help comes in the form of pocket kings, the hand before dinner break. We're in the big blind. A player in middle position raises to 10,000. The hijack calls. He's the person that we just chopped the last pot with. I 3-bet to 40,000. The initial pre-flop raiser folds. The hijack wants to finish me off. He calls. We've got 71,500 left in the stack. It's heads up. The flop comes king jack 9 with 2 diamonds. We flop top set with less than a pot size bet left in the stack. I bet 26,000 to try and induce a bluff or keep the opponent in with a wide range. The hijack shoves for only 45,500 more effective. I snap call. We turn over our hand. The player has pocket 9s again. We both have sets and a huge pot.
Wow. Kings over 9s? Sick.
If we somehow lose or chop this one, I won't be in a good mood. The turn is the 3 of spades, so we won't be chopping. Then one of the craziest things possible happens. Brace yourselves for the worst bad beat that you've ever seen on the vlog. The river is the queen of clubs. We actually win it. I just needed you guys to practice bracing yourselves for a bad beat later on. We get the double up and are over starting stack for the first time today as we head into dinner. There's no resting for us. We pick up pocket jiggities in the big blind with blinds at 3,000, 6,000. A player in middle position raises to 12,000. The cutoff, who always has pocket 9s, 3-bets to 35,000. We've got 184,000 total. It's back under starting stack and good for only about 30 big blinds. I've gotten it in with less for more. I cold 4-bet jam hoping that it'll look extremely strong. We do have the 4th best hand in poker after all. I didn't want to fold, didn't like the idea of flatting and playing out of position, particularly with another player behind me. The initial pre-flop raiser folds. This time, the player with 9s snap calls, and he doesn't have 9s. He has pocket queens to have us notched. Him and I have been battling all day. This is the 3rd all-in that we've gotten involved in together. So far, I've gotten the better of him, although he did manage to chop when a straight came out on the board. This time, the opponent has a massive lead. We're going to need to get lucky. The flop comes ace-king-8 with 2 hearts. We at least have a backdoor flush draw that the opponent doesn't have. The turn is the 10 of hearts, giving us a ton of outs. If we hit any heart or queen, we get a huge double up. The river is a miracle.
Wow.
Everyone stays pretty quiet after a beat like that. That's not how I even want to win, but I've gotten unlucky in a handful of huge WPT all-ins recently, particularly on day 3 of the Tampa main event. I'll take a cooler going the right way for us in the biggest event of the trip. The problem is that I'm having to get lucky just to stay alive and double my stack. I need to take advantage of the gift that I was just given in order to make a real run at winning this. That's exactly what I do. I go on an absolute tear to constantly increase the stack. I use every play I have in the book, checking back for deception to get top level players to take themselves to Value Town on the river. I call light with ace high while there's 2 pair on the board. I'm hitting my stride and playing with more confidence than I've ever played with while the stack continues to climb and the amount of players left continues to drop. A lot of the time, I'm not even making hands, I'm just getting bluffs through. It's fun when everything is working while battling against the continent's best players with a much higher caliber of play than I'm used to.
There's so much 3-betting, and these guys are really good players. I don't expect to really even cash in this thing, let alone like win it or anything like that, but just to really gain some experience, see what these players who I consider better than me are doing. It's a small fraternity of like high roller people that are in this. They all seem to know each other. I'm the new guy, and I think they're very happy that there is this American, primarily cash game player, playing with them. So anyway, I'm having a lot of fun trying to learn, and a lot of time left. But I am one of the biggest stacks at the moment. That could easily change by the end of the night. So hopefully I'll just continue running well.
During the last level of the night, with blinds at 10,000, 15,000, just 2 hands after getting a big bluff through in a 3-bet pot, we pick up ace-jack of hearts in the big blind. The button, who may be getting tired from the grueling day of battling, open shoves for 353,000. It's 23.5 big blinds. I don't really need to call in this situation, but his shove looks fishy, and I think that we could be ahead or flipping. I call. It's a good decision. The button has ace-5 offsuit and likely wasn't sure what to do. He's in big trouble. We've got him dominated. The flop comes ace-king-4 with 2 diamonds. If we can avoid backdoor diamonds, a 5, and a backdoor straight, we'll win a big pot. The turn is the deuce of spades, giving the opponent 7 outs. He can hit a 5 or a 3 to get the double up. The river is the 8 of hearts. We send the opponent home just minutes before the day finishes. He had plenty of chips. Those all get absorbed into our stack. We've got 6 times what we started the day with, and we're not done. We make a few more moves and push people around to get up to 1.4 million in chips. We're perhaps chip-leading the $10,000 high roller with less than a third of the field remaining and almost 400,000 Australian dollars for first. I'm glad that I took a shot. The night isn't over though. We pick up pocket jiggities, a second to last hand before play ends. We get it all in pre-flop against pocket aces for 390,000 effective, which is 26 big blinds and a 4-bet pot. There's no magic for jiggities this time. The flop comes ace-10-7 rainbow. The turn is another 10, giving the opponent a full house, so we're drawing dead and we double him up. The river is an insignificant 9.
390 total.
It hurts to end the day that way, but we still bag one of the larger stacks with 930,000 going into day 2. We'll have about 46 big blinds, which is plenty. You can see the tournament information here. There were 112 players with 35 re-entries, so 147 entries total. It says 40 players remain, but this screen isn't updated. There are actually only 36 players coming back for day 2. 19 make the money. If we can make it at least that far, we'll be guaranteed a minimum of 21,168 Australian dollars. That's more than double the buy-in and about 14,000 in US dollars. You can see the average stack is a little over 700,000. We're coming in with more than that. I can't help but think that we'd have twice that if I could have just gotten away from the jiggities versus aces hand. Oh well. We arrive the next day as focused as possible. Step 1 is to make the money. I'm nervous and excited. Regardless of what happens, this has been a great experience, and I feel like I'll be a better player from putting myself outside of my comfort zone. About 15 minutes in, we pick up King 9 suited. The player in middle position jams for 165,000. He's got the smallest stack at the table. King 9 suited isn't fantastic, but the opponent could certainly be jamming with worse holdings since he only had 8 big blinds to start the hand. Also, we'll still be in good shape if we call and lose. We call. It's a good decision. The opponent shows that he ripped it in with Jack 7 of diamonds. We currently have the lead and the opponent's suit covered. The flop comes ace-king 5 with 2 diamonds. It's about as good as it could get for us. We have a 97.6% chance of not only winning the hand, but also knocking out a player to get one step closer to the money. The turn is the 4 of spades, sealing the opponent's fate. The river is the 4 of diamonds. It was put out there as a parting favor from the dealer so that the opponent could say that he lost by getting flush over flushed. Absolutely brutal way to go. We stack him to get back over $1 million. 45 minutes later, we're down to 4 tables with ace-queen suited in the big blind. A player in middle position raises to 60,000. He's got 500,000 total with blinds at 15,000 and 25,000. I've got about $1 million in my stack. I don't love the idea of getting half that amount in right now, a little before the money, but it feels like the right play. I 3-bet jam for 20 big blinds effective. The opponent calls pretty quickly. To my surprise, he has queen-jack of clubs. We have him in big trouble. It's heads up. The flop comes ace-ace-jack. We've got trips. The opponent is drawing dead unless he hits runner-runner flush, straight, or quads. The turn is the 4 of diamonds. The opponent can no longer win. The river is a 6 of spades. This is the biggest pot that we've won all tournament, and it comes at a key time. We're down to 31 players. There have only been 5 knockouts today, and I'm responsible for 2 of them. This gets our stack up to over 1.5 million in chips. It's a new tournament high scorer. 50 minutes goes by. We're down to 25 players with blinds at 15,000, 30,000. I raise to 60,000 on the button with ace-7 offsuit. The small blind has one of the shortest stacks in the tournament. He jams for 155,000 total. It's only 5 big blinds. For 5 big blinds, the small blind could be shoving with almost anything, hoping that I raised light on the button and will fold. An ace is too good to fold in this situation. I call. We're ahead as the opponent has king 8 offsuit. It's a fair fight though. The flop comes jack 10-8 rainbow. The small blind hits a pair of 8s to take the lead. We're going to need a 9 to make a straight or an ace to win the pot. The opponent reveals that he has magical powers of predicting what the next card will be.
You can't just call him out like that.
Straight.
Next time.
We don't get the win there, but we at least make it to the break as a few more players get eliminated.
We're down to 23 players, 3 tables, 19 make the money, and I've got, I think, about 1.1 million chips. We're gonna come back. Blinds are gonna be 20 and 40K with a 40K big blind ante, and unfortunate with that ace 7 versus king 8 hand, that last one, but not too concerned about it. I don't mind losing some small all-ins, getting kind of just a little bit unlucky in those spots. But yeah, man, in good shape for the most part, and happy with how the day has started. So we've been playing for 2 hours. Just need 4 more players to bust, and then we can make the money on this thing. I think there's, definitely a handful of shorter stacks than I have. So yeah.
Even though we're close to the money bubble bursting, and even though a min cash would be amongst the biggest tournament scores I've ever had, I'm still out here trying to win. Some of the more seasoned tournament players are putting on pressure, and I'm giving it right back with 4-bet jams from my tournament life. I'm okay taking calculated risks. I don't just want the min cash, I want the trophy and first place money. Still, it'd be nice to lock up at least some money right now. Every minute is going by extremely slowly, small stacks are hanging on for dear life. Eventually, a few players bust, and we're finally down to hand-for-hand play. We've got about average stack, the players are good, and there aren't many, so hand-for-hand takes a long time. The short stacks won't die, they keep doubling up. Here, the player on my left who beat me in the ace 7 versus king 8 hand gets it all in for 4 bigs. The player in the big blind has a massive stack and makes the call. The person at risk shows that he jammed with pocket aces. The big blind shows that he called 9-7 of hearts. There's really not much of a sweat on the flop, as we see the first card is the ace of spades, giving the short stack a set. The only way that the big blind can win is if he hits runner-runner flush or runner-runner straight. Aces has an overwhelming 94% chance of winning. The turn is at least a bit of a sweat. The big blind picks up the flush draw. Brace yourselves.
We're in the money. Gross. That's rough.
That's probably the most brutal beat that I've ever captured on the vlog. The player flops a set and gets his aces cracked by a backdoor flush draw to stone bubble the high roller event and miss out on a $21,000 payout. It doesn't get more painful than that in a tournament. After the bubble bursts, several other short stacks are knocked out quickly to get us down to the final 2 8-handed tables. I've got a tough seat with 2 of the largest stacks remaining on my left. I make another pay jump, and I feel like I'm going to need to make some moves now if I want to make the final table or beyond. I double barrel bluff with 4 to a suit that I didn't have on board and give up on the river as the opponent shows the 8 high flush. All of a sudden, I'm down to 9 big blinds. Luckily, I find a good spot to rip it with ace queen offsuit from under the gun while we're 6-handed. The big blind has a large stack and is tanking. I figure I probably have him crushed. That's not the case.
All in full.
Thank you.
This is it. We're flipping for our tournament life. We haven't been at risk the entire day 2 until now. If we can survive this and one other player gets knocked out, we'll make a $5,000 pay jump to be guaranteed about 34,000 Aussie. That's enough to just barely be my all-time current highest tournament score of 22,137 US. Pay jumps go up rapidly from there too. The flop comes 6-6-4 with 2 clubs. Not great, but it could be worse. We still have 2 overs and a backdoor flush draw to stay alive. The turn is the jack of clubs, giving us the flush draw. We have way more outs now. We just need to hit one of 14 cards to stick around. The river is another jack. We don't survive.
Good game, guys.
That's it for the high roller event. Busted in 13th place. I think I got 26,000 or something, Aussie, or 28,000. Actually, I'm not sure yet, but yeah, man. Let's see, 28,930. Oh, that's pretty sweet. Better than I thought. So that's cool. Really happy with how I played. My first ever high roller, and just ended up, booking a nice profit on the trip because of this event. I cashed in 2 out of 4 events and had an awesome time. The people out here just like the nicest people that I've ever been around, and the reception for Andrew and I was something that was really cool. So I appreciate everybody in Australia. I'll definitely be back, and a bit disappointed to not run, you know, a tiny bit further. Try to get a bluff through with King 3 of clubs on like an Ace 7-6 Queen all spade board, and the guy called 2 barrels with the 8 of spades. He was a big stack, so probably shouldn't try to bluff him. And then got it in with Ace Queen offsuit against pocket 10s, and couldn't win that flip, and so that was the end of it. Just missed another pay jump as well. It was a pay jump from 13 to 12, but great time overall. And tomorrow headed back to the US, so long flights.
The North American poker vlogger comes up just short of his first major tournament title and a 6-figure score he's been longing for. Still, he manages to get one of the biggest payouts he's ever had and has an experience of a lifetime at the Star Gold Coast Casino. He has some unfinished business in the tournament streets, so he'll be back. That is, as long as they allow him back after cracking aces with kings late one night when the Players' Appreciation Party ended.
Ladies sport. Oh! Yes! 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 Yes!
That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like and subscribe buttons, because it helps out the channel a ton. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know in the comments section. I'm happy to get back to you. Big thanks goes out to everybody in Australia who showed up for the meetup game. I wasn't able to cover it due to some of the restrictions. They got approval at the property for WPT to shoot tournament stuff, but not cash game stuff. So that's why I wasn't able to film the meetup game event. But there were just so many awesome people that we met out there, and that was really one of the most fun poker trips that I've ever been on. So big thanks to the Star Gold Coast Casino and everybody who showed up. Let's see, and huge thanks to Elijah. He's the one who did the voiceover work in the beginning and end of this episode. He reached out to me as soon as he heard that I was going out to Australia, and he said that he's a voice actor, and asked me if, you know, I needed any help for this episode. And so I thought it would be an awesome idea to include him, and I have some of his information in the description box below if you need an Australian voice actor for anything. Anyway, a few meetup games coming up. November 17th at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida. Me and Andrew are going to be out there doing a meetup game. That's going to be a blast. And then also to kick off the WPT World Championship at Wynn, Las Vegas, Andrew and I are going to be hosting an event at the beginning of December, and there's going to be some legendary guests, so be sure to come to that one if you're able to. And then also pick up Smash Live Cash, the course that Nick Petrangelo and I worked on Upswing. I have a link down below in the description box. You know, I've had a wild year. I actually just had my biggest loss ever last Monday at the lodge on this live stream. And then a couple days later, I had my biggest win ever to more than cover the loss. That was this streamed poker tournament that was at the Poker Go studio. And I'm gonna do vlogs on both of those in the upcoming weeks. And be sure to be on the lookout for those, because those are gonna be some memorable episodes for sure. All right, guys, hope you're all doing well. Stay safe, good luck at the tables, and I'll see you next time.